welcome back. You're watching The Morning Show. Thank you so much for staying with us. Right now, it's time to take a look at the world of entrepreneurship. Let's cross over to the business beat with our very own Odette van der Haar.
Good morning, William, and good morning, viewers. Today, we are talking to Mr. Brand Leadership himself, the man from the continent who knows everything about personal branding from an individual perspective, as well as from an entrepreneur's perspective and from a corporate perspective. Mr. Thebe Ikalafeng, you are Mr. Branding on the continent. You are the epitome of how to personally brand yourself, how to brand a business, and you know the continent and its people through and through. Today, let's talk to the viewers about how to create that personal brand, how to make yourself work ready, how to be that entrepreneur in the workplace, because we know South Africa has the biggest unemployment problem at the moment. We know that corporate South Africa can't absorb all these people. We also know that in a recent survey held on the continent, more than 60% of young people were very, very optimistic about the continent, despite the economic climate currently. So talk to me about how young people, old people, anybody can brand themselves and make themselves, well, recruitable.
First, thank you so much, Odette, for inviting me. You know, you're right. You speak about two things, one from entrepreneurship and entrepreneur, and on the other hand, how to really stand out. I think for everybody, whether you're a student or a young person, an executive, of everybody, you must be good at something. So you must know something. But not only is it good enough to know something, because a lot of people know everything. The second most important thing is you must be different from other people. So, you know, when you go for a job interview, for example, or even an opportunity interview,
right,
whether you are pitching for something, you always get asked the question, why you?
Absolutely.
So, in other words, what differentiates you from everybody else?
Right.
Because everybody else can offer the same thing.
Yeah.
And then the third most important thing is people also want to see that there are proof points. You've been able to do things. You've been able to accomplish things in the past. So to build a truly great personal brand, you must know something. You must stand out, you must be different, and you must have a body of work that proves that you are that type of person. Remember, not necessarily having done the things you are interviewing for or you are pitching for, but the things that shows, that demonstrates the person that you are. And when you ask you what you know something and how you do things also is also what differentiates you. To me, that's what is important. And you know, you spoke earlier about entrepreneurship and all those things. Everybody needs to be entrepreneurial. You need to be entrepreneurial in terms of how you approach your work. You have to be entrepreneurial in terms of how you get things done. Because, you know, the mark of entrepreneurs is the ability to make things happen. So you should be able to do that at work. You should be able to do that whether you're a business person as well. So to me, that's what matters. And if I was sitting with somebody and interviewing me today, I will not be trying to fill a job. I will try to solve a problem. So I'm looking for somebody who can help me solve that problem.
Solve a problem, absolutely. So my takeouts, know thyself.
Correct.
So know yourself. Know what you're good at, know what you're not good at. Live authentically and portray what you're good at.
Correct.
Right? And even for somebody who's never worked before, I'm a big advocate for young kids getting involved in the community to demonstrate leadership skills.
And that's what I'm saying, that you don't necessarily have to have done that in your life, but you should have done other things. You know, one thing I learned as a young guy, you know, in New York, when I first, before I got to New York to work there, some of the questions some of the things I learned was volunteer, do an internship, start something yourself, because all those help to build your competencies.
Right. So
that when you go out there and to go sell yourself, you are selling your abilities, not necessarily a particular qualification and all those. Because remember, a lot of people sometimes study one thing and do another.
I'm living proof of that.
You know what I'm saying? So when you sit in front of a recruiter, you're not necessarily selling how to be a great accountant. Because if it's all about a great accountant or a great marketer, all those things, then they can just look at the CVs and then they take one, right?
Yeah.
So what you are selling why me of all these people.
And on that note, joining us today is one of South Africa's top headhunters, Toney Moagi. So picking up from what Thebe's just said, Toney, what is it that you would look for when a candidate's CV comes across your desk or a candidate comes in to have a coffee with you? How do you advise them to stand out, to become a brand, or to present themselves in a personal, branded, personal, kind of authentic way? That is different.
Okay. Absolutely. Odette, thanks very much for the question. And I think just to pick up on what Thebe said, I would like to tie my response to that to the times we find ourselves in today. If you look at the situation now with the amount of people who would have lost jobs right now and kind of companies reorganizing and, looking to do things differently. So going forward, you need to take into account that these organizations are going to be looking for change agents, right? And people who are able to lead them out of a stressful situation.
Thank you so much, Toney. Thank you for sharing all those pearls of wisdom. I'm absolutely certain that our viewers have learned a lot from what you had to say, and we look forward to chatting with you again sometime in the future. Thebe, you've been to every country this continent has. Do you find that the situation in terms of recruitment, the situation in terms of entrepreneurship, how people pitch, is the same from country to country? Do you find that the fundamentals are the same? Or do you find that there are different nuances in different countries?
Well, I think maybe I'll contrast South Africa and the rest of the continent as a start. As a start, the rest of the continent is much more entrepreneurial than South Africa.
Yes.
They are much more resourceful. They're much more self-reliant. Whereas when you look at South Africa, for example, we are so used to formal structures. We're so used to formal assistance. You know, if you look at even our country from our social structure in terms of 17 million people on grants, you won't find that anywhere else in the rest of the continent. So our country is so from that part. So that's why South Africans, when we are unemployed, we are confused as to what we do next.
And distressed.
Yes. Whereas the rest of the continent, they're already used to making a plan.
Thebe, what is your parting advice for people in South Africa who are, as you say, right now very distressed about, will I be able to find a job? Am I employable? How am I going to re-enter the marketplace if I've been retrenched?
You know, I think we probably now are entering the space where the rest of the continent has always been, which is now we are going to have to be able to sell ourselves better than before, or need to be able to sell ourselves better. So it means we have to ride the wave, because there's going to be a rough ride. It's a rough ride. So that we have to agree that there's nothing you can do about that. But during that time, and hopefully during COVID as well, we're able to self-reflect. Because during COVID, for 60 days or so, you were not in a job, you were not with your friends, generally, and many times not with your family, so you were mostly with yourself. And you were not really quite always doing the work that you used to do. But if you do work, and you're on those Zooms and all those other meeting platforms, the ones who actually don't add any value stood out quite much, because they did not know what to do next, because they could not shuffle paper. Because you can't shuffle paper the way, shuffle wires the way you could shuffle papers.
Yes, you're so exposed.
So you are very, very exposed. So I'm hoping that during that time, a lot of people really looked deep and said, who am I? What can I do? What do I do different? What value do I add? Because whatever value you can add, you're either going to add for somebody or for yourself. So when we come out of this period, we should be able to go out there and sell something. So the most important skill I think that we should have learned out of this is understanding ourselves and ability to sell.
Oh, thank you, Thebe. It was a wonderful chat with you. I really appreciate your time. It was great having you with us.
Thank you so much for that.